Next up we've got Dr. Rachel Keedwell. Rachel's here. Rachel is from Horizons and is going to speak to us on the environmental side of things. So give it up for Rachel.
Thanks, Thomas. As an ecologist, I have a firm understanding that we only have one planet, and that we have not only a need but a responsibility to make sure we look after the environment and manage our resources sustainably, not just for us now but for our future generations. And what concerns me about the TPPA is that it may impact quite seriously on our ability to manage our resources and to make and put in place the environmental safeguards that we believe we need to now. As you've heard, the TPP is not so much about trade as it's about control, and I see it's about control of profits, control of our resources, and ultimately control of our environment. So the key way that our environment would suffer under this is the ISDS clause, the Investor State Dispute Settlements clause that has been spoken about, and where if there were some good examples there about if the government changes its legislation that could impact on potential future profits, they can be sued. And there are many examples that that's happening at the moment. This isn't some random idea that is being hyped up. It is happening. Jeff gave lots of examples there. There are many more. There's at the moment Canada's being sued by an American oil company for wanting to put in place a moratorium on fracking in Quebec because they were concerned that they didn't have all the information. They're now being hit with a $250 million lawsuit. Chevron is in Ecuador. Instead of paying up the $250 million that they are being fined for polluting all the water resources there, they have used the ISDS clause in a trade agreement to go around and sue Ecuador to get out of their responsibilities rather than facing up to the damage that they've done. So there are many examples of that, and in New Zealand there are many ways that it too could impact on us. As Jeff said, if we wanted to go ahead and take some firm action against climate change, if we wanted to do the same as Canada and make sure that we are understanding what the actual impacts of fracking would have, I imagine that by the next morning we'd have half a dozen oil companies lined up ready to sue us for impacting on their profits. And the fact that these courts are overseas and they are not unbiased because they are overseen by the lawyers that make the decisions on all of these cases means that there's a lot of room for a very expensive litigation to go down. So even if they don't pin it against the governments, it can cost tens of millions of dollars just to defend the case. And the other impact this has is what's called a chilling of the regulations. So for example, Canada has declared a moratorium on fracking. They get sued. Other countries around the world are going to be cautious. They are not going to put in place these safeguards now, which we need to do. They're going to sit back and say, wow, I'm going to wait and see what happens, to see what the outcome is. And that can take years. Meanwhile, more damage is done. So I see that these aren't the actions of a responsible government to be putting in place legislation with one eye on how it's going to impact in terms of whether we're going to get sued or not. We should be putting in place strong environmental legislation that is protecting and safeguarding our resources for the future and not just working to make sure that the corporate profits are unaffected. So again, just go and talk to everyone, let them know it's serious, it's really serious what this could do for our environment, and we need to be taking action now to make sure that we have an environment left to hand over to our future. Kia ora koutou.